Now for 5 minutes. I would just want to say thank you so much, Ambassador Greer, for being here and being so responsive to me and my staff. And as you know, the top trade issue in my district in Northern New York 24, is the relationship between the U.S. and Canada. From tourism to agricultural markets, commodities to wine and manufactured goods, it's a huge issue. And Canada is a top market for my district. However, Canada has long discriminated against certain industries in my district, and that is what I want to focus on today. I got a couple quick things, but let's start with dairy, and we've talked about this before. As you recall, probably my district is the 5th largest dairy producing district in the entire United States. For years, Canada has rigged their system to prevent U.S. dairy producers from fair access to Canada's markets. This year's National Trade Estimate Report, as every year's report details, Canada's market manipulation and unfair treatment of U.S. producers is still evident. The U.S. has fought for years to gain access to the Canadian dairy market, and yet Canada continues to violate USMCA and the spirit of its dairy commitments. Have you and your team raised these issues with our Canadian counterparts thus far, and have they been constructive in helping all of us resolve this issue with our friend to the north?
We have raised it repeatedly and frequently over the past year. Our Canadian counterparts have indicated as a general matter they're happy to talk to us about adjustments to USMCA and different things like that, but they have made no commitments on this front at this time.
Well, that's disappointing. So let's shift to wine, another issue detailed. Every Canadian province, with the exception of Alberta and Saskatchewan, has ceased distribution. Every Canadian province, with the exception of Alberta and Saskatchewan, has ceased distribution of U.S. wine and liquor products, including Ontario to the north. This is distorting the market, causing immense harm to our wine producers in the district. And have you and your team raised this issue as well with our Canadian counterparts, and have they been trying to help us? Have they been constructive in this issue, much like with the dairy issue?
Well, it's at the provincial level, right? So we hear from the federal government of Canada, well, it's the provinces, and then we do have 2 provinces who don't have this. That being said, I think we're kind of at the end of our rope in just asking for them to do this. Think about it this way. There are 2 countries that have retaliated economically against the United States in the past year, the People's Republic of China and Canada. So that's kind of the company that they're running in. So my sense is there may have to be an enforcement action to deal with this issue on wine and spirits in Canada.
Thank you for that. Let's hope we can resolve that. And one last issue I'd like to discuss with is the Canadian prohibition on bulk imports of fresh fruit and produce. My district is the 19th largest fruit-producing district in the nation and the 21st largest vegetable-producing district in the nation. Once again, as detailed in the NTE, Canada severely restricts imports of bulk fresh fruits and vegetables. Have you and your team raised this issue with our Canadian counterparts, and where are they with this issue as well?
We have. We thought this would be an easy one for them to fix. They've refused to fix it. It's in the National Trade Estimate. It has been for a long time. It's one of those crazy things when you hear that it exists. People say, oh, well, Canada, they're our best friends. But then they do things like this where you can't ship fruit if it's in a package above a certain size. It doesn't even make economic sense. So we've raised it with them. We'll continue to do it.
Yeah, it's disappointing. I mean, I've spent my whole life going back and forth to Canada. I'm a curler. I also graduated from the Silver Broom Curling School. I showed my horse up in Canada and in Toronto. And, you know, our Canadian counterparts have come to meet with us frequently. They talk about us. They want to talk about the tariffs. However, they don't appear willing to actually address this issue as you've described. And we really need to really forge this relationship with our Canadian counterparts. Ambassador Greer, is there any message you would like to give to our Canadian counterparts about getting them to the table? I've met with premiers and met with the parliamentarians from all across the region, the northern Canada, all the way from the north to the south, to the east, everywhere, and west. Would you like? How do we get them to come to the table and bring back this relationship that is so important for our farmers, our business owners, everyone? We value the relationship with Canada, especially someone like me who's grown up just, an hour and a half or so from the Canadian border. and really value their friendship, but also want to see them come to the table. I hate to see our great ally being aligned with the People's Republic of China when it comes to trade with the U.S.
A couple of things, and first of all, I don't negotiate in public, right? So I'm not going to go into too much detail. But, the second point I'll make is, I have good relationships with my direct counterparts, and we speak. We talk about things. I have been pretty consistent over the past year that if we can, get some changes in Canadian trade practices, it's going to help me get over the political hump that we face here in the United States. So I think there are things that can be done. I've been pretty clear with the Canadians on a variety of things. Anyone can read the National Trade Estimate to have a sense of the kind of things I've asked them to work on. I'm going to continue having conversations with these folks behind closed doors, but I hope we can get over the hump on some of these things to have significant talks.
Thank you. I yield. I really appreciate your effort on these, and let's hope we can come to a great I Love U.S.-Canada Day with our countries coming together. I now